So here's my house pattern that I'm going to start with. And I usually take one color of the house. So like if it's bricks, I'll just pick one brick color and I'll design the whole house with that one color. And then I'll go back and add the brick detail and the extra colors. So when I'm looking at this house, I see a couple of different things. I first do big shapes first. So here is a rectangle, or kind of a square, and then from that I have another little one, and I'm just gonna guess that it goes to about here, and then there's gonna be like a concrete base for that. And then I also look at the roof line, so I would say that this point is probably halfway there. And so I'm gonna do this first box and the side rectangle first. So when designing my house patterns, I said in a different video that I used the app Stitch Sketch. And so I opened up the app and I get gallery open or new. So I'm gonna click a new one. And then I'm just going to name it Example House. Okay. And then on the bottom, or like halfway through the chart size, this 140, that is my 8x10, and I'm doing a landscape view. Actually, no, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do a portrait view. Sorry, that's more of a portrait view. Sorry. So on 14 count fabric. And so then you can see my finished pieces in 8x10. And then I just push OK. So here is my finished piece. So I know that I want to keep it within this size, because otherwise that's going to be larger than what I want. So I always save it right away. And Example House. Click OK. So one of the things with Stitch Sketch is you have to save all the time. And then I usually split my screen. And so you just pull up from the bottom, and then I grab my photos and I drag it over to the side, and then it's adjustable. Lots of frog pictures. Okay, so here is my image, and then you can adjust the size that you want. So usually I give myself a bigger drawing board. And the house color I have is 470. So then I just pick 470. And I change my tool to be the box. And then I'm going to do a rectangle, or a square. I determined it was a square. Now the colors in Stitch Sketch are a little bit off. They said they recalibrated them, but I don't really feel like it, because that is awfully like pea green. But it's easy to switch colors in this app. So then I said I would do the left side, so that comes out a little bit. Now I may adjust that depending on, I have that yellow border on there. So I'll adjust, like slide it over so I can do a thick yellow border in like the windows. But this kind of gives me an idea. And then the roof line, that top one I said was halfway. And so I'm going to find the halfway mark. And I love this app for that reason, because I can just grab this and highlight across, and then it says WH in the top. That is the width and the height. So my width is 53. So if I do half of 53, that will tell me my halfway point. So it's 27, right? So then I just start on this side, and I can then go across to my halfway point. And then I just kind of guess and look at proportions. And I'm going to just stick with right here for now. And I can adjust that as needed. So then the yellow I have is 745. So save that. So the yellow is 745. yeah, that yellow doesn't look very bright. And the outside of the house has this line, and then I'll do these lines. There's not really I don't know of a really good process. I just kind of make it up as I go along. But I'm only going to do one thickness for that because it's, you know, the diagonal part of the roof line is thicker, so I want to make sure that I leave enough opportunity for that. Now this one is going to look like it's double, but that's because I'm putting it on that, looking at it as a separate spot. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me right now. And then I think the next part I'm going to do is the door and the windows kind of together, because the door and the windows are then going to be adjusted so that they're proportional. So if you look, I have these two big windows in the front, and they look to be the same size. So we're talking about this window and this window. So I'll design one and then I'll just copy and paste it. It's a little trick of the trade. And so a color that I always use for the inside of the windows that I picked out before in the other video was 535. And that's right there. And so then, you know, it comes up, this window comes up a little bit past that square line. So when I draw that out, I'm going to make sure that I go up a little bit past that square line. Probably do one stitch higher, and then I like to make sure it's symmetrical. So I'll use this, just select box, and then that counts it for me so I don't have to count. So it's 6 wide and this side is 5 wide. So I'll actually do one more row of gray. So then I have 5 on this side and 5 on this side. And then I'm going to take that yellow and outline it. So I use this outline tool. So this one's actually going to make a, not outline as in lines, but outline as in squares. But I already think that my window is maybe a little bit on the bigger side, so I am just going to, I want it, I think, a little bit longer. But then I'm going to count it on that edge of the gray. And then there is a line straight in the middle. So again, I have to find the middle. And so this is a part where I probably would add another one, because this is 14 and I can't do half of 14 because it's going to be even. So then what I do is I use my select tool, and what I'll do is I'll just take this and move it over 1. So then I can split it in half and still have an equal number on both sides. So that's 7 here and 7 here. That's what's nice about using an app, is that you're able to just add that in. Or if you did better planning, then it probably would be easier on graph paper, but I don't plan like that. Okay, and then it almost looks like it is gonna be too long, so I'm gonna take this part and I'm gonna move it up maybe 2 spaces, and then fill that color in. That looks a little bit better to me. Okay, and then the inside has that white edging. So the inside has this white part, so I'm going to add that, but it's a lot skinnier, so I'm just going to use the outline tool. So I need to change this to my vector tools. And if you're interested in this app, I am working on a YouTube channel that also will show the different functions and how to use the app. So I'm not really focusing in these videos how to use it. So I want this to be skinnier, so I'm going to draw the line. And depending on the house that I'm doing, sometimes I'll use the lines like this, and other times I'll, you know, make them full cross stitches. And so I have the outline there, and then the window looks to be divided in half. So again, I'm going to, my height is 21, so half of 20 is 10, and then another half. So that is going to be 10 is right here, and so I'll need half of this last one. And so then you can just do half there. So when you are sewing that, it's not going to go through holes. You're going to have to break through the holes. So you can do individual stitches, or if you want, you can also do like a longer satin stitch. All right, so that window looks pretty good to me. I am noticing a little bit of a ridge on here, that it comes out a little bit. So in here, I think I am going to add that little detail. And I think how I'm going to do it on this one is just do a line on the top so it comes out a little bit. Now if you want, you could do a diagonal off of that. There's lots of different options. You could just do another one. Oh, I like that better. I'm gonna do that instead. Okay, erase, undo is my friend. So I am going to do it as a half stitch though, or diagonal right here though. I think that will add to the features of the house. Now Stitch Sketch does half stitches really weird, and since it's well, it's my own pattern, but usually I'll color those in so people can see the difference. And then symmetrical. And save. So now I'm going to do the second window, and I'm going to select this first one, copy and paste, and drag it down. So they look, I did not have that centered. These windows look like they're a little too big. So I have a couple of options. I can add some rows to make it a little bit larger, or I can make the window a little bit smaller. So I think what I'm going to do is raise it up one. So then I just raise this one up one, and I'm going to raise it on the top part so that it's symmetrical. So then my count still stays the same, that this one is 7 up here solid and 7 down there solid. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And this is all, I just eyeball a lot of it until it, like, air quotes, looks right to me. I don't know if I have a very good method for that, but I always do the details last. And then here's the downfall: when you start to do the outlining, then it causes changes in that, so then I just have to go back and fix it. So I usually like to wait to do a lot of the outlining until the very end, or sometimes I'll just erase them all and start over. But if you're using this app, the more you use it, the easier it becomes. And tricks, you know, of the copying and pasting. and I usually never do, but I should just wait to do the back stitching and the outlining at the very end. But I think sometimes that helps with the pattern. Okay, so zoom back out. I feel like that looks a little bit better. I think if I need to change something different, that I will make the house a little bit larger and add to that. Okay. All right, so next piece I'm going to do is the door. And so when I look at the door, all right, so looking at the door, it does not, I'm going to use this window for a reference. So it doesn't go to the top, and then it comes down a little ways. Okay, and of course it's skinnier than the window. So for the door, I picked, what color? Oh, 902. See, this is why it's nice to do the colors ahead of time, because then you're not like scrambling like what color. You just look at your little cheat sheet pattern. And so I'm going to start a little underneath the window, so maybe like right here. And remember, it's going to be outlined in yellow, so I want to leave some room. And then it doesn't go to the top. So I'm going to start there. And already looking at this with the yellow on the outside and that little awning, I think I'm definitely going to have to make it larger. So I'm going to go back to my yellow, go around the outside, and then go back and add the bottom door. Okay, so that looks fairly good. And then I am going to do the little awning part, and then I can adjust as needed for some other things. All right, so what does that awning look like? And this is where, like, you know that it's three-dimensional and it's coming out, but when you take pictures, if you take the most straight on forward picture, it's going to be the easiest to design. So I have this block here and here across the top, and then the diagonal. So I'm going to do that in yellow because this green is like the same color, and the roof line I'll want to add in later. Okay, so that's what I'm going to draw right now with the yellow, and I want to make sure that I'm going to give some green on the outside. So probably, and it's kind of thick too, so I think I'm going to do a 2x3, and I left 2 spaces, so making sure it's symmetrical. I'm going to do that line across the top, and then, you know, you can see that there's some architectural detail in that, but because it's all painted the same color, and you're talking about this tiny little piece of fabric that you're sewing on compared to like a real house, you're just not going to get that same kind of detail. So just having it the same color will be fine, and the people will recognize their house. So this has a nice diagonal tool, and then I want to see the width of my house is 9, so I'm going to do till 5, and that's going to be my midpoint. So from the corner, I am going to go up till my width is, okay, so this would be the 5 mark. So I'm gonna go up until it looks nice. Kind of has a pretty straight peak. If I went up like that, I think it'd be too high. So I think right there would look good. And then, you know, sometimes it never works to get the same diagonal. So then I just go in and I pencil it by hand. And that looks pretty good to me. And then I pick the line tool to help fill in what I want. I'm not very good at doing like the half stitches and filling that in. I just do lines, and then up to creativity, whoever is stitching it, to like fill in this part right here if they want. Or sometimes I will put a little X there so they know this X, so that they know they should fill that in, and it doesn't always work. Okay, so depending on, you know, who's stitching it, if they want to fill that in, they can. Some people I've seen do long satin stitches, so remember that I'm just designing the pattern. So that's one element, and then there's another element of the craft that goes into actually stitching it. Okay, so then this line will connect here and then connect down here. And because I did the X's on that side, I'm going to do them on this side so they match. All right, so zoom out, take a look. That actually looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna leave that. All right, the roof line. So that's 415. After I made the video, then I was second guessing all my color choices. But that's probably just because I was trying to record myself when doing that, and usually I don't have an audience. So with shingles, I kind of like to do a pattern. These, if I look at them, they look like bricks. So these are going to be different than what I usually do. So what I would do for these being bricks, I think I'm going to do them by 4s, because then they can overlap a little. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. Okay. So having them overlap, and usually any time that I do, or maybe you know, designing it's one thing, but stitching it would be another. I think if I were stitching it, I might actually mix these two colors and then go back with another darker color and do it so you can see like the brick pattern. But if you don't, feel like I need another color. Okay, I did pause the video and kind of did a little bit of drawing to see what I liked the best before I kind of went to explain it. So right here I was using 2 different colors and trying to get that staggered pattern. You know, all the shingles look about the same color, so this I didn't like because it would continue to be like a stair step if I did that, and you would for sure see the color difference in that you'd have these streaks. I mean, it would be pretty, but it isn't really the look that I was going for. Then I added a third color, 646, and tried to get like a staggered pattern there too, and I just wasn't really liking how that turned out. And then I just used so that was that staggered pattern is right here, this part right here, and I wasn't really liking that look. So then the last one I did was I just did 648 with that color, and then 646 I did the brick of it, like the brick pattern, and I like that a lot better. So I think if someone were to stitch this, I would say, okay, maybe definitely mix the color strands and then just do an outline as a brick pattern. It is going to look a little bit different because then you have the shingles right here as a diagonal. So I don't know if somebody would want to do like just a line, first part of the X or in that direction. So how I achieved this look was I just colored an area, I changed it to the pencil, and I still liked the grid, so I do long lines across. Long lines across, and then I will do in groups of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, draw a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, draw a line. And I'll keep going, and then the second row I'll split those in half. And then you just follow this line. I would follow it straight up and just do the pattern. So this is really putsy, and if you think it's annoying to draw it with a pencil, I can't imagine stitching them. I've only done a few houses of my own. I've just designed more of them. So I would keep going for the whole pattern. So I am not going to do that brick design until the very end. So if I have to make something larger or add rows, I've done that before where I've done the bricks and I'm like, oh, I love it, looks beautiful. And then like I decide I want the house a little bit bigger. So that is not helpful. So I am not going to use 415. I'm going to use 648 to design this. And I need the pencil back. And if I'll notice, that point goes a little bit taller than the roof. So I am going to bring it to this one. And it matches straight down. So I'm going to fill that in right there. Okay. And then save. That looks pretty good to me. Also leaving enough room that I can write 286. So usually when I do the back stitching for that, I try to contain it all in one letter or one box. Sorry. So I'll do 2, and I try to get it to look as close to that same font, but you know, you're limited when you're dealing with such a small space. So my 8, even though their 8 is rounded, mine is going to have to be curved just for sheer of getting that size. The 6 is pretty curved, so I'll add that there. And that looks like a decent size. So then I drag that over to right here, and it looks centered pretty well. And I have 2 on this side, 2 on this side. You know, so also with adding those numbers, that's where I may shift and make the door a little bit bigger if the numbers didn't fit how I wanted them to. Okay. I see 2 little mailboxes, so I am going to add those, and I'm probably just going to do 2 squares, and they're a little bit less than halfway of the window. Actually, I'm going to do it at 4. Yes. There we go. The group of 4. I don't need to do anything more than that. The door has some decorative detail, but again, I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to move to these side windows. So full color, I'm going to do the shaded part first. Goes from the top of this window down. And again, I want it to be centered. So that's kind of thick. So I'm going to actually use the yellow around. Yeah, I'm going to move that in. And it looks like it's almost on the edge, so I'm not going to have them be the same. But I am going to make sure that I have that diagonal piece because it has that element on these windows too, that kind of crown molding part. So I am going to make sure that I include that detail. You know, at first I never outlined my houses either, and then I started to outline like the edges and just a black, and I think that that really stands out. So even though those blend together, I'll draw an outline stitch, and I think that will help it make it stand out and identify part of the area more too. So So drawing that edge, again, I want to find that halfway mark. So the height is 16, so then the halfway would be 8. And that is not where I want that. Halfway would be 8. Okay. Again, I'm going to copy and paste that and put it up probably right there. Okay, so far I am pretty happy with how that has turned out. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the roof line, and so I'm going to do that yellow roof line first. And when I look at that, I want to think about where it's ending up. So it's just as high as this one, and then if I went straight up from here, it's a little bit to the right, and it overhangs on this side a little bit. So that's kind of my plan. Again, I'm going to use this diagonal tool in the yellow and just kind of come out. So it comes down to like the top right here. So I'm going to have it come out to maybe right here, and it's going to be the halfway up here. And you know, it's pretty sharp, so I'm going to actually try to do a 1-to-1, rise 1, rise 1, run 1. And then I'm going to do the same on this other side, except I'm going to copy and paste it and then flip it so that it matches. But so I get that right idea. And then just fill in those last, how many do I have? Fill in the last 4. So I'm going to just do it by hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can make sure that it's the same. Now it's thicker, so I am going to add an inside layer to that to make it thicker. And I just want it to go directly next to that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I like how that looks. So then I have to go in and fill in the point right here. And then I have to erase this side because there is no building right there. There is a chimney, and I don't think that I picked colors for that. But I will do that right now. So chimney, and just picking from the reds. I'll do this one, and I can check my color later. And so it looks like that. It comes up like this, and then like that. All right. On the left side of that, I'm going to erase all of my crazy roof design ideas. You know, sometimes things don't work out the way you want, and that's okay. I have more green to fill in right here. I didn't realize that. And this I can erase. You can leave that or erase it depending on, you know, what you want. It's easy to draw over it in this app. So roof line again for this other one, looking right here. You know, we talked about this being kind of like the halfway point in that house, but a little bit over. And it has, so I also use lines to help me. This line looks parallel to this line. So that's going to be that up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So it's going to have the same slope. Sorry, I'm a math teacher. So I'll talk about that. So up 1 over 1, and I'm going to use the roof line color. And it comes out a little bit further than the edge of the house. Oh, gotta get my diagonal tool. This is super helpful, the diagonal tool. So there's my slope of 1, and the peaks look to be about the same. So I'm just going to leave it right there. I could slide it over depending on where you would like it to be, but I'm limited with my slope of 1. So if I look right there, it's a little bit more, it's past this point. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking at this one, that it's past that, it's past this point. So I actually think like right here would be, I gotta go up so it's the same height of this other one. And I think I'm gonna call it good rates. There, trying to line it up. Okay, so that looks good. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side so that it matches. Now it's not quite the same. Like I can tell right away when I did that this line is a little bit longer in my picture, but remember, you're trying to get the gist of it. You know, it's not going to be perfect. And that's the roof, so I'm going to fill that in. I like to use just this colored pencil part. I'll color that in. It's a little bit easier to do this details with this one. Scribble. Don't want to affect that slope on that one. I do see a yellow line underneath. You know, that's kind of the underhang of the house, where I don't think if I were like up higher that I would see that, but I am going to add it because I think it'll just make the detail in the house look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to put it like that. Okay, so that roof line looks good. I am going to take my darker color and I'm going to draw a line on the side because I want to start drawing that side roof, and I don't want it to blend in with the roof I already have going on. So you can choose to start there. I will pick in the middle because I want it to be even. And then I like to do the top of that. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And I try to have them match. So that one would go about there. Now when I do that other roof, looking straight on, that one, let's use orange, has a straight line out and a straight line down and over. Okay, and this diagonal will cut that. So that's the piece I'm drawing. And I'm going to extend a little bit past, and I'm going to go up to like right there. And this is just eyeballing it, and then go over and fill that in. And then this continues to go all the way to the edge. And I don't have to worry about it because I drew that line, so I know where that roof line is now. And again, I'm going to take that dark color and I am going to outline this roof line. And down. And this one, I'm actually going to make it so kind of yeah, I'm gonna do the roof line like this. So these stitches, if I were going to draw them, those would be the diagonal ones. So I would probably go diagonal this way. That one got crazy on me. Okay. I'll just pick one. Go diagonal from that. Okay, and the lines going, extending, remember I'm drawing the pattern, not stitching it. So if I were stitching it, I'd probably do these diagonal lines first and then go back and do the coloring, or then go back and do those lines, so that would hide what I was working on in case I went over. So let's see, that's looking pretty good. What else am I missing on here? Oh, the stairs. Let's do the stairs, and then, oh, and I noticed this side needs to go up a little bit more. And so let's do the stairs, and then we'll go back and do the siding and finish the roof. Okay, and the door. Because I'm happy with the proportions and the style that I have. So this is going to be, you know, I have 8 by 10 designed out, but it's going to be smaller, and it would be perfect if you wanted to add words or people. All right, so the stairs. So one of the things that I see right here too, and I didn't include it, the stairs should be right here at the base of the door. So I'm going to put the stairs there. And I know that there's dimension to them, except when you draw it, you're looking at it straight on. So that's that larger thing. It's perception. It's a hard thing to grasp. Okay, so I'm going to use this color and 3023, my standard kind of concrete colors. Okay, so the lighter one is going to be the top, and if you look, that is skinnier. So when I'm looking at the stairs right here, this part is skinnier. So those I'm just going to do as lines, or one line, and then this part, this darker, is larger. So I might do 2 rows of X's. It kind of depends how far I want to go. So I think I'm going to do a line first and then go from there. So I'm going to start with the darker color. And I also don't, like, there's 3 steps there, so I'm not always set on doing those 3 steps. Sometimes I'll do whatever will look nice in the image. And so the stairs go a little bit on the side, so I'm gonna go like that, and then take the light color and I'm gonna do lines there, so kind of helps break that up so you see that those are stairs. And I'm gonna do 2 more. So this one I decided to break up as 2s. I don't know if I've actually nailed perfecting stairs. I think that it's kind of really difficult to do because you're trying to make it dimensional, but it's not like that. So the most straight on, that kind of looks like stairs. I'm going to actually, I think, go in a little bit and see if that helps with my design to give the illusion that there are stairs there. So let's see if that helps with my design a little bit, that they're getting longer as we go through. All right. I think I like how that looks. So when you're looking at something, when it's closer to you, it's larger. So making that thicker and out longer, out wider, that kind of helps give that illusion of the stairs. All right, and then of course there is probably concrete on the bottom of that house. Usually siding doesn't go all the way down. They do have some plants, so I could add those. That would help cover up that part. But All right, so I'm gonna do the siding, and I picked 470 for the house. So usually when I'm making a pattern for somebody, I pick one color darker to do the siding in so that they can see it. You cannot do the lines of the siding in the same color. You just can't see it in your pattern. So I'm going to eliminate that so I can make this larger, and I just do lines straight across. Okay, sometimes it will work to copy and paste, other times I just draw the whole thing. I do not go under windows directly underneath them for siding. I skip that and we'll do the edge. And also when you are doing detail work, think about what is in front of the next thing. So I talk about Stitch People a lot because they have great products and designs and I like making them. So this discussion that I was recently in with people was, where do you start with on your pattern? And everybody starts somewhere different. Some people were like, I start with the face. Others, I start with the feet. I myself start with the center because then I, go out from there, less chance of miscounting, right? So everybody was different with that. But another thing to think about is, how does something look too when you're stitching it? So you start with, like, although I start with the center, but my hair is on top of my skin. So to stitch hair first and then your face, your hair would kind of tuck in behind your face. And in reality, it's the other way around. Your face outlines your hair. Same thing for like clothes. You put your, you have your skin and then your clothes go on top of it. So I found if I do my clothes first and then I stitch the skin on top, well then that layer is coming. Sometimes my skin looks like it's sitting above the clothes, but that's not how it is in real life. So sometimes thinking about it that way helps. It's the same thing with the house. So I'm doing this siding and then I will do the edges of the roof lines, but the roof line would be on top of the siding because that's like sticks over it. So when I'm pattern designing, I try to make sure to do them in that order too, so that I don't have this siding line sticking above the roof. And it's just a little detail in the pattern. Okay, so you get the idea. I am going to speed up this part a little bit so you don't have to see the whole thing for the siding, but you get the idea. All right, as I'm looking at this right side of the house, I feel like the siding goes up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is take my roof line and come probably right here. I'm gonna come to right there. So I'm gonna go back and fill all of this in with green. Just felt like it was the wrong. It wasn't. I felt like it went up too high on that side. So looking at that, I was proofing the video and watching that, and I was like, oh, that looks funny. So I would have probably noticed it if I wasn't rewatching the video. So then I just need to go through and add those lines for the siding. Okay, so that looks good to me. I'm going to do on this roof line, it has some vertical lines, so I'm going to go back and add those vertical lines. For the shingles. Now if I'm designing a pattern for somebody, I would include that. How somebody would stitch it, that's completely different. Feel like the patterns are more of the outline in a coloring book, and how somebody chooses to color it is the stitching part. Okay, I am going to add the brick pattern, and I'm going to do it in groups of 4 like I did in the example part. So I need to add the horizontal lines first. And then I'm going to count by 4s. Maybe I'll count by 4s. Once you get the first 2 rows done, then it's easy just to go down and copy them just by skipping lines. Okay, so I like how that looks, and I'm going to do the same thing on the roof line, and I'm going to speed up the video. I also have the little roof line on my awning right here. Vestibule. I don't know, lots of different names. Okay, the next thing I think I'm going to do is the door. So for the door, it has a thick black border. So I am going to add that. And then it looks like it has kind of a centerpiece like that. And then the other things look like line details. So it's dividing the panel into 4. So this is where I can change sizes of doors too sometimes to get that number to work out evenly. So I need 3 lines. So this unfortunately is not going to work out, but I already have the top part all done. So I am just going to divide this in half for both of them. And then come in 1.5. So these are going to be on not like, they're going to be over the stitches and not through the holes in the fabric. And then there is some ornate detail on there, so I like to add a little bit on there. I think that it makes a difference in my patterns. Try to get as close as possible to the design. But you know, when you're dealing with such a tiny little piece, it's not going to be quite the same. Extra little black line right there. Okay, and then also I like to copy and paste if I have an element that I want to duplicate. And then flipping that. Yeah, that's too far. Okay, so then I'm gonna move this one little line up to be there. Yes. That looks lovely. Okay, and then I will again copy and paste that down because that is on the other side too. And so, yeah, I think that looks nice. And I see it looks like maybe a doorbell on the right side, so I'll just do a line like that. I'm not going to do the doorknob, it's really hard to see when I look at that. You could do the light fixture, and in this case I would just do a few lines. Change my mind a little bit further because I want a flat spot right there. Okay. That looks good. And then I talked about outlining my piece. Sometimes you get stray marks too using this app, so I want to make sure that I get rid of those. Okay. Oh, outlining. So when I outline, I've switched to black because I think it just stands out better in the patterns. So this is the outline, but I want the roof line on top, so I would just redraw over that. Then you can choose if you want to do the yellow outlined. I'm just going to do the sides of the house. And I do the ones in front. So like that line that I just put, that's the in front of the other piece. Then on the right side, I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to add to that roof line. I am going to, because that's yellow, I'm going to use the same color as the shingles. And go like this. And down. There we go. So I want to mimic that corner on the other side. We'll go down here. And I want to go 2 across. Another stray dot. And then I'll go up to the point. Right there. So these little spaces, you can decide if you want to do half stitches right there, or I'm talking about like right here, half stitches, or when you do the roof line, if you want to do long satin stitches. That's kind of up to you when you decide how you're gonna do that. But in the pattern, I just leave them without the X's and leave it more to be drawn. I usually don't outline the windows, but you most certainly can. And I am not going to do any flowers or anything on there, but I am, because the stairs come down, I do think I'm going to add a little bit of concrete to kind of finish off the house, so the stairs don't look like they're just hanging out of nowhere. In most basements in Minnesota, they will have that concrete there. So I did 3 rows there, so when I do it on the other side, I'm going to also do 3 rows, but that's set further back so it doesn't need to come all the way down. And I will bring my drawing or my outline all the way down to the bottom. Okay, save that, and then the last thing, I think that looks really good. Okay, the last thing I will do is I will center my piece, so I select it and move it to where I want it. And then how I figure out if it's centered is I count the stitches on each side, so that's 19 on that side, and on this side it's 20, so can't get much closer than that. If you want to add fonts or Home Sweet Home, you can do that. I like this app because I can actually type out stuff and it will make the font. So I would need to make that a lot larger or it will not work correctly. Okay, to see if that's centered, I usually go from the edge of the font over, so that's 8. I do the same thing on the other side, that's 9. Can't get any closer than that. So save that, and then if I do transparent and save it to my camera roll, And here you can see what the finished design of the house looks like. This is what I would send to a client for their approval. Please click subscribe for more videos.